The most important traits are honesty, academic honesty, making sure that you're writing your own paper, using your own words, patience, allowing enough time to go through the process of writing a paper. You need to be flexible. You need to be flexible in terms of your sources that you used. You need to be flexible in terms of going down dead ends and starting over when you hit a dead end. You need to make a time commitment, and you need to ask for help when you need it.
Well, I would think that curiosity, passion, and perseverance are the most important traits and values that a student can bring to a research project. And also, integrity is a large part of it because research is an intellectual and scholarly pursuit where we usually acknowledge other researchers' contribution.
Well, I think the biggest thing for anybody who wants to do research is that you've got to be patient about it. Like, granted, it's much easier nowadays when almost everything is available online than it was, back in my day when we still had these card catalog things and microfilm. Like, they might have to go a little bit deeper than they're used to because they're not going to be sort of the broad, like, write me a paper about the death penalty sort of thing. Like, they're going to be far more nuanced issues.
They want you to add something to the arguments that are being presented in the research that you're looking up. At least for me in English, when I use an article, an argument by a scholar in English, I'm expected to kind of interact with that article and not just kind of present it as this is what this person said. I'm supposed to really engage with it and say, like, this is what this person said, but I'm going to add to this argument with my own argument.
It's the student's idea that's often being pursued and by the students as well as by the academic mentor. So it remains a challenge for a student to find and refine it, but at the same time, it's important for them. It's also important for them because they need to find the fine-tune in their questions, in their assumptions, in their theoretical understanding.
Well, in a class like W131, the sorts of information that we're expecting students to use is, like, we try to steer them more towards peer-reviewed scholarly sources as opposed to, like, popular sources.
They already use scholarly sources, peer-reviewed academic articles. We make distinctions between those kinds of sources and sources that are popular sources or not academic sources, such as the difference between, say, People magazine and the New Yorker. So students learn what are good sources for an academic paper.
In my own personal experience, when I was in high school, I feel like it was a little bit more difficult because our only search engine was Google Scholar. Not that they're bad search engines, but I personally like to use the databases that are provided through the IUSB library. I really like that we have reference librarians who are educated and know exactly what they're doing. I like that we have different subject librarians a lot. For example, when I was doing a paper, not for a psychology course, but it was pertaining to that certain field, I went to that certain reference librarian. I really liked that. In high school, I didn't really have that option.
Library, and library. I believe library is the ultimate depository of knowledge.
That research is about discovery. It's not just repeating what your sources say or necessarily agreeing with one source or another, but finding your own voice, your own ideas within the material. You want to stake a claim, again, rather than repeating source material.
Like, not only documenting the source, but documenting exactly where you got the source so that, the purpose of doing this is so that anybody who wants to follow up and find the sources that the students are working with actually can do so.
In high school, I just did a Google search for my senior paper, and that was considered enough research. But I think in college, it's almost kind of required for you to look through multiple different databases.
Academic honesty means you give credit to the sources that you're using, particularly if you use a direct quote or if you heavily paraphrase a source. So you always want to keep in mind that you're giving credit to the sources that you're using, and doing otherwise results in plagiarism.
When we write, or even if I consult a scholarly article or scholarly report, we need to understand what is the underlying meaning or the insights that the author is trying to convey. If we don't do that, we could possibly twist or possibly misinterpret what that author is trying to tell, or if we partially use that information in order to support my argument, that would not be an ethical practice.
I think you need to be open-minded and have a curiosity towards what you're learning about, because sometimes it might be really difficult to find articles that are useful, to find sources that are useful for your paper or whatever project you're working on. So I think having an open mind and really wanting to do the research and look through different kinds of databases and libraries is really helpful, because sometimes doing research is hard, so having that open mind to kind of look where you might not expect things to be, and having that curiosity and wanting to learn more about the topic that you're studying is very important.
The ultimate goal of a liberal arts education is to become an independent learner and thinker, and students will begin that journey in W131.
In order to support the argument that you want to make, occasionally the best source is going to be will be one that is actually arguing the opposite of what it is that you want to prove, which also might seem different. Like, opposing viewpoints are really valuable in research when you're writing an argumentative paper, because if you can pick apart the opposing viewpoint in an intelligent way and bring in textual evidence from a peer-reviewed scholarly source to defend your counter-arguments against another source, I mean, that's really strong, really powerful writing.
For my English course, it was completely different from what I had learned in high school, and it was also instructed completely differently. I didn't realize that so many things were going to be different. I just kind of got really comfortable, and I was like, oh, I'll just let it happen. My final paper won't be too bad. I ended up getting a complete F on it, and the professor let me and a number of other students make up the paper, which is really nice because they typically don't let you do that. That's when I realized I needed to be patient and engage myself more.
So I would say use the library, use its resources to your fullest extent, and have a better student life.